now we go home. Well, I might go to Taco Bell and then go home. Yeah, Taco Bell. Taco Bell. Yo, fun fact, guys. While I was at the farmer's market today, the Green Bay Press Gazette, aka the newspaper, took my photo while I was holding my sign. It said versus cattle, suffering, death, and abortion's an act of love. Meaning, there's a good chance that I'm going to be in the newspaper. That's pretty cool, I guess. Yup. Don't really care. But I suppose it's good for utilities. The locally known dude. Too bad. Heyo, some gamer. How's it going? Oh, this is not gamer. I thought it's a gamer. Gunner. Some Gunner. How's it going? We're just driving the T-Bell and going home. I was at the farmer's market, but cheers, bro. It's not Gunner either. Fuck. Donner. Oh. Is it better if I go like this and close the window? I'm not entirely sure. No? Okay. Fair enough. I tried. But yeah, basically, it was at the farmer's. Are you streaming on a phone? Yeah, I'm streaming on a phone at the moment, and I imagine it's probably pretty poor quality. Yeah, but just talking through the cars. Nah, I'm on StreamYard, so it's like going off the duck. I'm basically just using my web browser, Google. Why not use the regular Twitch app? I could do that, but I'm also streaming on Facebook and on YouTube at the same exact time. So you're not the only platform that I'm streaming to, actually. I'm actually streaming three different places at once. That explains the audio. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I was just at the farmer's market doing some antinatalism activism, holding a sign that says birth is the catalyst of all suffering and death. And the Green Bay Press Gazette took a photo of me, so that might be in the newspaper. That's pretty cool. Uh, Other than that, not much news. Basically, just the same as always. Just life. She can read other land. Let's put the banner up. Let's see. Yeah, Q&A plus ask me anything. Usually the Q&A is simply about ethics, like the ethics of hunting, fishing, natalism, antinatalism, so like giving birth or not giving birth, stuff like that. But basically, I'm open to talking about pretty much anything. I'm pretty good at giving life advice because I'm kind of psychopathic, so I'm sort of a psychopath, Yeah, just a little bit. So I'm pretty good at giving some neutral life advice that is gonna help you out usually. So yeah, feel free to comment any questions or concerns about your life, your friends' lives, or just whatever. Or if you have any questions on ethics, particularly that's my forte. I'm good at that. I'm good at helping people know right and wrong. Because when you're born without a moral compass, really, you kind of have to learn things from a non-emotional point of view. And so you kind of learn what's right and wrong from an objective point of view instead of just based off of what you feel and what you're told. Because what you're told is kind of like, it makes sense, but then you realize other people tell you other things, and you're like, wait a minute, can't just do what this person tells me because other people say otherwise, and they're not the authority figure. They listen to like the president and stuff, and the president I'm like clearly a hierarchy. But why listen to the president? That's not like the other presidents of other countries, man. to, like, it didn't make sense to me, so I had to learn myself, like, what's right and wrong. So now I know, and I'm here to help y'all know just like me. Maybe it's better now that the heat's off. Maybe it sounds a little better now. The heat was on before, so it might have made like things sound a little bit like muffly. Who knows? Maybe it's better. I like being toasty. Being that, I should grab the heater out of the basement and put it in my room. Alright, and I'll keep it in the basement. I'm just gonna bring it out the back part of the basement. Bring it into the part where I stay. In game.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, what can I get for you today?
Can I have 2 Fiesta veggie burritos with no dairy?
One moment, please.
No problem.
Can you start over on your order, please?
Yeah, of course, no issues. 2 Fiesta veggie burritos, no dairy, no cheese, sour cream, chipotle sauce, none of that. And same for the cheesy bean rice burritos, 2 of those with no nacho cheese or chipotle sauce.
Anything else I can get for you today?
Other than some Diablo and fire sauce, no thank you.
863 at the window, please pull forward.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Hi, I'll be with you in just one moment. 863.
Thank you.
Sorry about that wait. What can I get for you today?
Listening to non-vegan orders. Tragedy.
Anyway.
I have a question. Are there any sauces?
Alright, I'll be with you in just one moment. Go ahead.
Are there any sauces that could replace the Chipotle that don't have dairy, maybe in the future?
It's already too.
Oh yeah, in the future. In the future. Nah, that's cool.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Cool. I mean, these packed, man. No, it's just a T-Bell order, bro. Don't even be like, I don't know, man. Down to irritation, bro. Just asking you a question. Making me feel bad for scaring you. So coming in my lane. Get out of here. I'm driving like old ladies right now. God dang. You got auto modded, so I didn't know that was a thing, but cool. I mean, congratulations for being a moderator now. Didn't know that was a thing, but I guess I do now. So congratulations, you've been promoted. I mean, yo, what's up? Are you vegetarian? Just curious. I'm plant-based. I will only buy vegan products. I will not purchase dairy. Unlike vegetarians will purchase eggs and they'll purchase dairy products. I will not purchase eggs. I will not purchase dairy products. But I will go hunting and I will go fishing because I believe that death is not a bad. Life is just full of many bads, many unnecessary pains that we inflict by bringing animals into existence. So I'm against the supply and demand chain to bring things into existence to suffer, but death is not necessarily a bad. And when it comes down to it, things in the wild will die far worse, more brutal deaths than if you just put a bullet into their head or capture them and let them freeze to death in a bucket. So, and it's very long and prolonged over many years. So the way I look at it is death is not a bad thing, and the wildlife is quite brutal. So we're doing them a favor by hunting and fishing. So I'm plant-based, but I also fish. Hope that answers your question to the person that said, yo, are you a vegetarian? Just curious. So.
True, brother, true. Do you have any high calorie vegan recommendations trying to gain right now? I'd recommend going to the channel Vegan Gains for that. He's a bodybuilder. I'm pretty slim and I don't really prioritize calorie intake. I just kind of do whatever and just like allows me to survive basically. So I just got some bean burritos from Taco Bell, and beans have a lot of calories and protein, so I guess I'd recommend beans, black beans in particular. So yeah, get yourself some bean burritos, tofu, and stuff like that. The Green Bay Press Gazette took a picture of me today. Yes, I might be in the newspaper. I was. My mom's like, God dang it. What? No. They won't know it's me. I didn't say my name. They just took a picture. They didn't interview me or anything. Mom's all worried about her job, and she's like, "You're out here doing things," and I'm like, "Maybe you shouldn't have brought me into the world, and then I wouldn't be out here doing things to potentially get you fired from your job." How about that? How about that? I wouldn't need a job, and you would have had a lot more money saved up if you would have had me. So, would have been a win-win, but no. Put us into a lose-lose. Just for your little gamble. Remember that, guys. Don't have kids. The catalyst for all suffering and death. Just like my sign said. Mayo got him, basically. It's not illegal. This is Delta 8. Delta 8 is legal in Wisconsin. But it says abortion is an act of love on one side, and that's the pink side. The other side says birth is the catalyst of all suffering and death, which is a big fact. You cannot suffer and you cannot die unless you're born. Both things that most people view as bad. So if you don't want to be a proto-murderer or you don't want to cause unnecessary suffering, don't bring things into existence. That's basically what my purpose of my sign is. So I do that every Wednesday, basically. Well, I do that every Wednesday until today, because now it's the last day of the farmer's market. So now I'm gonna do it whenever I feel like at the stadium, basically, at the local Packers stadium, Green Bay Packers, Go Pack Go, or whatever. Yeah, life. But yeah, what's your opinion, Dova, if you're still here? Nice, respect that. Thanks for putting it out there. Have a good one. Oh yeah, if you're leaving, take care, my dude. I was gonna ask your opinion. What's your opinion on the ethics of birth and stuff like that? Given that I doubt you're an antinatalist. You might be a vegan if you're or a vegetarian based on what you asked earlier, but I'm kind of curious what your opinions on the ethics of birth are based, you're outside of the community, and I'm just curious. Given it's not necessary to have kids, and it's a lot of suffering, death, cancer, disease, predation, stuff like that happens in life. Oh yeah, I'm antinatalist, but I'm trying to go vegan, living at home with my parents. They're culturally vegetarian. Oh, are you Indian? Like from India? Because I know there's a lot of Indian antinatalists, and India is culturally vegetarian. I'm already incredibly underweight, so just gotta get my shit together. Yeah, background Indian, but yeah, I grew up in NA, Nevada. Awesome, that makes sense. Yeah, just gonna get my shit together. Yeah, I recommend beans and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not the best person for bulking up. I weigh 132 pounds basically on average, and I'm 5'7", so I'm very slim. Canadian. Oh, okay. My bad. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, I don't really have great advice for bulking up as a vegetarian or vegan, but I recommend vegan gains, vegan gains, lifting logic, stuff like that. There are some channels that are vegan bodybuilding ones out there that will definitely help you just tone up and get your body into more something you want for yourself, more ideal. Myself, I'm a slim motherfucker. I'm skinny, very skinny. So I am a very slim dude. I got abs, but only because I don't work out. I just have abs because I'm a slim dude naturally. But I got tattoos. Look at that. I got tattoos, baby. So, but other than that, I'm a slim dude. I don't have bulking advice. I just have advice on how to be cool and how to be ethical. Get tattoos, especially if you're bulking up. Then you'll look beefy and you'll get the ladies or the dudes, whatever you're into, or yourself. But yeah, when it comes down to it, lifting logic, vegan gains, they're your brothers. Your brothers in Christ here. Yeah, I'm gonna get started. Just been playing games lately. Finished Dark Souls 1 through 3 and Sekiro. It's been a full fun month. But yeah, I got a both now, for real, for real. Yeah, I got you, my dude. Gaming is a way of life. It's fun. I've been playing Baldur's Gate nonstop since it came out. I'm on my third playthrough. I beat it twice already. Beat it once on easy, then I beat it on normal, and now I'm beating it on the hardest difficulty, Tactician. So I'm playing as the Dark Urge. So I'm just playing as some serial killer orc lady. It's pretty fun. First one was human, then I was get the Yankee, now I'm an orc. half-orc. First I played as a barbarian, then I played as a wizard, and now I'm playing. I was playing as cleric for the first part of this, but now I feel like bard is a little more fun, so I'm playing bard for the second half. Just a circular bard, as one do. I want to play music, but I don't think I can play music and live stream at the same time. Can I? No. Yeah, Dark Urge is fun. Basically, yeah, Dark Urge is fun. You just get like some different dialogue options and some random different cutscenes occur in different events for. Like, if you play the Dark Urge, and then you meet this, like, random bard that enters your camp, and then you kind of murder in her sleep, and you're like, nice. But, you know, it's just some, like, different options happen, different stuff. You can basically fight it, or you can not fight it. I'm not fighting it, because, you know, why fight it when primordialism is the truth? We're all better off dead. It's big facts. We're just helping them out. We're being benevolent in a way. In a way. One second.
The old man next door said his house is haunted because ghosts keeps him awake. And he's having a hard time, to be honest. Since his darling passed away, but here's the phantom. It's finally found his nemesis and everything from his life. The old man next door said his house is haunted. And the front. Well, but so sorry, your house ain't haunted, just not used to being alone. Oh no, 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 no. This is a good song. Sorry, I'm done. I'm done. It was just in my head. It was in my head, and I couldn't resist playing it. It's a good song. It's called Two Beds, Two Bath, and a Ghost. Marco. Whoa. Does anybody can eat these, or I can't have. Pretty sure Dad bought them, being like, "I like s'mores," and I'm like, "I did like s'mores." What the shit? You shit.
He just wants my attention. What? That is a cat. Yeah. Meow. So you gonna sit there? Huh? Yeah, there's always a chance they'll get a copyright strike from that tiny little bit of song right there, but it was probably like staticky and me singing over it. There's a chance I might be spared. You know what the YouTube gods will do to me. Cats are better than dogs, 100%, my dude. Now we're gonna go like this, click that, click that, click this. Go like this. Enter studio. Then
Testing 1, 2. Cool, it's working. And now we're on the laptop. Should have better audio quality. Do 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 do. What do you think of Amendum? I like Amendum. I think some of his opinions are a little sketchy, but when it comes down to it, I like him for the most part. I don't really have any gripes with him. Like, if I was in a room with Amendum and there was a knife and there was 0 consequences, I would not kill Amendum. And that's a good thing for him, because for most people, I would totally murk them. So, just for funsies, if it was like no consequences. So that's my way of saying I'm cool with Mendham. I like Mendham. Mendham's chill. He's big chill. But like, he's in my good list. So of all the people in the world, if it was like a top 10 list, Mendham would be in like the top 5. So he would be like top 5 people I respect. It would be like Mendham would be up there. So when it comes down to it, the negatives pretty much are just kind of like he has some opinions that I think are a little bit anti-poor to the point where it's like I'd kind of have disagreements where it's like he's taking it out on the poor people's children instead of just being like, which I understand consequentially speaking might be necessary, but at the same time I feel like it's a little bit like, number one is myself. Just I respect me first. Number 1 is me, and then number 2 number 2 was what you meant by number 1. who's other than yourself is like next in line for your respect. I don't know. You know what? Fuck it. Yeah, and honestly, it might just be it might be a Mendham, and then it might be like someone like what the fuck's his name? Magnus Vinding or something. Or the guy that made Painism, or like someone like Thomas Ligotti, or the dude that made like yeah, Thomas Ligotti or something like that. I don't know. Basically, people who are like, oh my god, why am I forgetting him? Okay, number one. There's one person I respect more than myself, and I don't know why I forgot him. My boy, my son, my German sweetheart, my little cutie, Philippe Mainlander. I don't know why I forgot Philippe Mainlander. What the fuck's wrong with me? What's wrong with me today? This is not the property of Brandt. Brandt does not forget Philippe Mainlander. But yeah, Philippe Mainlander's an absolute G, my favorite philosopher of all time. If you don't know who Philippe Mainlander is, how could you? Basically, Philippe Mainlander is like God killed himself, became universe. He basically thinks he's basically like Philippe Mainlander is like a negative utilitarian socialist pessimist that believed that God committed suicide and became the universe. So pretty much what I believe, and he's like the one that like made up that like very concept. So fuck yeah, Philippe Mainlander's a beast. So it was Philippe Mainlander, then myself, then Mendham, then like I don't know, Peter Singer and Thomas Ligotti, stuff like that. A while back, Alex O'Connor would have been in there, but since he's become an expressionalist and kind of giving up his veganism, I'm kind of like, okay, fuck you. But, you know, he can be redeemed. You never know. The fuck did I put my vape? Yeah, here, Al. Let's do a little Philippe Mainlander adventure. We can do it for the channel. I haven't really done a Philippe Mainlander adventure in a while, so just to help people have a fun time, check out these videos afterwards, give them a like and stuff. But we're gonna check out some Philippe Mainlander, just cause why not? It's dope. We're gonna do you know what? Yeah, let's do the real wholesome introduction to Philippe Mainlander, and then we'll do the nitty gritty. What is Philippe Mainlander trying to tell us? So,
Philosophy and philosophers can be kind of depressing. Even the most hopeful theories and ideas still get to their conclusions with a healthy dose of sobering reality and pessimism. And then there's pessimism itself, a branch of philosophy in which the conclusion is more or less, it is better to not be than to be. Nobody has taken this to its extreme more than Philippe Mainlander, the philosopher who took his own life.
but first, a word from our sponsor.
This video is brought to you by the Ridge Wallet. It's light, sleek, and industrial.
No.
Born in Germany in 1841, and the product of his father forcing himself on his mother, Mainlander was the youngest of 6 siblings. His demanding father forced him to go to school in Dresden, where he would learn to become a merchant. Afterwards, at the age of 19, he worked at a trading house in Italy, learning Italian and acquainting himself with the works of Italian writers, such as Dante and Leopardi. Leopardi was especially influential in Mainlander's philosophy. Schopenhauer describes Leopardi's pessimism as such. He is entirely imbued and penetrated with it. Everywhere his theme is the mockery and wretchedness of this existence. The monotony of his day-to-day job led Mainlander to find an escape through reading poetry and philosophy, and so, aside from Leopardi, Mainlander also delved into the works of Schopenhauer, who gives us such cheery one-liners like human life must be some kind of mistake, and lasting happiness is an illusion. The 2 most important Schopenhauerian ideas that Mainlander would carry into his own work would be Schopenhauer's assertion that nothingness is preferential to being, and that the world is driven by the will, an aimless and irrational striving that causes all suffering. In 1863, Mainlander returned to Germany, where he maintained yet another depressingly boring job working for his father. His mom would pass away on his birthday 2 years later. In 1869, he got a job at a banking house. He hoped to earn some bread through interest earnings and live a decent life. And then in 1873, the stock market crashed and this ruined his plan. He promptly resigned and spent the remaining 3 years of his life, aside from a short career in the military, writing The Philosophy of Redemption, a work that would articulate his entire system of philosophy. In 1876, he asked himself whether or not his life still contained any value for humanity. He concluded that he had completed all that he could, and at the age of 34, and shortly after the publication of the first volume of his work, he hung himself. One of the most unique and imaginative ideas that stems from Mainlander's
Fun fact, The Philosophy of Redemption is being translated into English and will be released in about a couple of months from now. So, keep an eye out for that.
philosophy is that of the death of God, a theory that predates Nietzsche's own statement in The Gay Science. Mainlander points out how strange it is that the world appears simultaneously unified and fragmented. Sometimes we feel at one with everything around us, and at other times we feel alone. Man is both a part of nature and notably distinct. Mainlander believes that the universe was at one point a singularity, a perfect unity, and has increasingly become fragmented since its conception. This unity he called God. God, being God, would know that non-existence is better than existence. It should be pointed out that, like most pessimists, Mainlander argues that annihilation is preferred, that nothingness and non-existence is just a heck of a lot better than existing. And so God would naturally come to the same conclusion. However, God also can't simply cease existing. It's against his nature. So God decided to carry out a process of self-fragmentation, taking his own life in the sense that he would continually divide himself, that being the universe, into further and further fragments until he no longer exists. Mainlander gives us this terrifying idea that the world is simply the rotting corpse of God. Now, why would God seek bliss through annihilation? Mainlander quite liked Schopenhauer's idea of the will, the aforementioned craving everything has that appears to have no exact aim. Animals strive to survive, plants strive to grow. All of these strivings, if fulfilled, simply extend the period of striving. The will is in this sense the root of suffering. If we weren't constantly trying to find meaning or be happy, we probably wouldn't be in such a panic to begin with. Hence, Schopenhauer suggests that those who can silence the will, such as the artist at work or the saint while meditating, can live a life devoid of suffering. For Schopenhauer, the will is unified and singular. Silencing one's own will only partially silence the unified will. Mainlander disagrees, stating that the will is broken into multiple wills. There is no unified will, at least since God decided to break himself apart. So, as he argues, death is a better salvation than creation or asceticism, for it accelerates God's aim towards absolute and eternal nothingness. This is an important point that also departs from Schopenhauer. Whereas Schopenhauer viewed, Mainlander took the more Hegelian view that history is actually moving towards a goal, the goal being nothingness or the end of existence. Mainlander really liked nothingness, so it would make sense that his ethics revolve around the idea that all of our pursuits should be ended, since they lead to pain, and that we should welcome the will to death in order to find true happiness. He argues that one's individual will is united with the entire universe if they will death or nothingness. What does this look like in a less philosophical sense? Mainlander believed in psychological egoism, the idea that what is best for the individual is what makes one happiest. This sounds like basic self-interest and reflects Stirner's philosophy of egoism quite closely. However, Mainlander makes an important distinction. Whereas ignorant self-interest seeks to promote itself and further seeks to satisfy the will to live, enlightened self-interest reflects Mainlander's idea that happiness is achieved through a will to death, through the recognition of nothingness as the holder of happiness. Hence, they would be humble and live a life of asceticism. His main goal, interestingly enough, was to reduce human suffering. Yes, despite his adoration of death, Mainlander recognized that it would be best to make life as pleasant as possible for those who are still alive. Hence, his politics reflects a sort of progressivism that is rare in the works of other, more reactionary pessimists. Mainlander also appears distinct from other socialists of his time, believing that revolution was unnecessary, tied to the idea that socialism would be achieved through the parliamentary process. He was also fairly nationalist, straying from Marx's international aims. And finally, he held a favorable view to the state, believing that it was necessary in order to supply the basic needs to the population and maintain social order. Mainlander appears somewhat utopian here, amidst his incredibly pessimistic championing of nothingness above all else. Certainly, Mainlander held dark and troubling ideas. Viewing our lives as sections of God's rotting corpse isn't pleasant, and yes, his pessimism appeared to deeply impact his personal life, leading to him taking his own life before he ever found any recognition. Nonetheless, Philip Mainlander presents us with the idea that one can still maintain hope even after accepting the darkest of possible visions. As Frederick Beiser tells us of Mainlander, he had the deepest sympathy for the suffering of the common man, and much of his thinking was preoccupied with the poverty of the mass of people and the workers. In fact, his personality was generally described as gentle and warm-hearted, perhaps a token of his acceptance of the chaos and finality of the world that he had envisioned. Some would argue it makes sense as to why he decided to take his life. However, with a life spent coming to terms with annihilation, I'd argue that it is far more appropriate to see his final act as a tragic surrender to personal turmoil, rather than a product of his work. Despite his grim fate, Mainlander did in fact offer us a vision of a world that limits suffering for those still living, through humility, political cooperation, and the guarantee of basic needs to all. Mainlander consumed the darkness around him, and in return, offered us light.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. It's a shame that he took his life. That I mean, it's not because the long ago one, but two, like, it's a shame that like he wasn't around to make more literature and like pass on his knowledge and stuff. But it's a good thing that he didn't suffer like prolonged period of time, I guess. But yeah, it's a shame that he didn't get much literature out there, at least not the philosophical nature. He just kind of had that one book, and then he was just like, that's all you need. And he just kind of took his life. This is where things get interesting. Pessimistic pandeism. Manlander was confident that the will to die, he believed, would well up in humanity, has been spiritually gratified in us by God, who in the beginning masterminded his own Quintius. It seems that existence was a horror to God. Unfortunately, God was impervious to the depredations of time. This being so, his only means to get free of himself was by a divine form of suicide. God's plan to suicide himself could not work, though, as long as he existed as a ununified entity outside of space, time, and matter, seeking to nullify his oneness so that he could be delivered into nothingness. He shattered himself, Big Bang-like, into time-bounded fragments of the universe. That is, all those objects and organisms that have been accumulated here and there for billions of years. In Manler's philosophy, God knew that he could change from a state of superior reality into non-being only through the development of a real world of multiformity. Employing the strategy, he excluded himself from being. God is dead, wrote Manlander, and his death was the life of the world. Once the great individuation had been initiated, the momentum of his creator's self-annihilation would continue until everything became exhausted by his own existence, which through human beings meant that the faster they learned that happiness was not as good as they thought it would be, the happier they would be to die out. Rather than resist our ends, as Mailer concludes, we will come to see that knowledge that life is worthless is the flower of all human wisdom. Everywhere the philosopher states life is hell, and the sweet, still night of absolute death is annihilation of hell. Exactly. Death is not a good in itself. It is simply just the annihilation of hell, of pure evil, of bad. Life is bad, basically, and it's not that death is good, it's just getting rid of a bad, which is comparatively a good thing. So, here we see just how pessimistic Manlander's version of pandeism is. The will to die that Legati refers to is Manlander's idea that integrated in humans is the wish for annihilation. We inherit the desire, wish from the pre-cosmic God, the infinite unity, blah blah blah. Interesting, this myth of divine suicide seems to correspond somewhat with the scientific concept of cosmic entropy. Based on the second law of thermodynamics, cosmic entropy will always increase over time, and many physicists believe that implies the universe will eventually end in heat death, which everything is at the same temperature. A state of physics refers to as maximum entropy. All matter decays in the heat death scenario. Even particles and radiation would still remain. So it's not clear if this would count a complete self-annihilation that Mainlander had in mind. True, but, it's close enough. As far as consciousness cannot exist, I think it's a win. We can see how Mainlander diverged from Schopenhauer, since his idea of will to die is opposite of Schopenhauer's will to life. And then the comment section is beautiful because we get this person right here, our savior, our grace, the man who's read the philosophy of redemption and explains it to us. Beautiful. So, this guy has put together a little theology to make things a little more believable. God is dead, and his death was the life of the world. We learn specific reasoning for as follows. God willed his own non-being. God's immediate passage into non-being testing 1 2. Cool, it's working. Huh. Do not be scared, Marco. It's just me moving a bag. It was consequentially necessary for. No, I'm skipping. God's immediate passage into non-being was impeded by his own being. God had God's will directly achieved its end, then worldless non-being would presumably prevail, which means non-existence would be what it is right now. And since nothing outside God can act on him, only God's own being could have impeded his will. Hence, it was consequently necessary for God being to disintegrate into multiplicity, make it's just breaking apart or becoming multiple of itself. A world in which each individual being strives to achieve non-being only finalizes by God's being will allow the end of non-being to be achieved. 4. Individual worldly beings hinder one another striving, and so doing so weakens the degree of force. God's entire being underwent transformation into a determinate sum of forces. The world as a whole or universe has one end, non-being, which it will achieve through continual diminution of some forces which compose it, basically just entropy. Each individual being be brought to the course of its development by virtue of the disposition of its force to a point where striving to non-being is fulfilled. So basically, eventually, we will all die or realize that death is a good thing. So, this is where things get fun, because also add the links in the description for later. Cool, I'll do that. But yeah, the first deduction is breaking it down, nice and simple for everybody. Yeah, the universe has an absolute beginning, a finite time ago. We can all agree on that. Only through an act originating from God could the beginning of the universe have been set. Not 100% true, but a lot of people would agree on that. But he proposes so. I think it's plausible. God can produce something only from his own substance, contra creation ex nihilo ex nihilo. That is creation from nothing and not from God, meaning you can't just snap things into existence. You have to kind of create from something, even if that's his own imagination per se. So it's like God creates from himself, basically, like takes from himself to create. In the case of coming into being of our universe, this would have to be understood as transformation of something divinely transcendent into something worldly immanent. God's wisdom strictly forbids coexisting with or alongside a creation in which everything that happens necessarily and without real alternatives. Meaning the universe is a deterministic universe, but God has infinite possibilities in his being. So he cannot coexist with this universe at the same time because he has infinite possibilities and the universe is deterministic. So it's just kind of like he can't be there. It's contradictory to its nature. God can never create anything else that wholly whose activity from outset will always lead only to a very specific and certain outcome, necessarily inevitably so due to effective cause determinism. This according to the principle of sufficient reason. Yeah, basically, okay. God will never create anything else than that whose activity from the outset will always lead to a just very specific and certain. Basically, everything that God does, God knows the end result of because God is perfect. And therefore, God doesn't do things willy nilly and without reason. God knows the results and is calculating them all. So therefore, every action that God does is predetermined, meaning everything that God creates is deterministic, meaning the universe is deterministic. So hence, the God cannot exist alongside its own creations. Therefore, God has completely transformed himself into the universe because the universe exists, but we know God cannot exist alongside his universe. And, yeah, so therefore, it must be that God transformed himself into the universe. Hey, Saul Goodman, don't know who you are, but hey, how's it going? The second deduction. God turned into either X, a temporary limited universe, or Y, a temporarily infinite and everlasting one. If the latter is the case, God is transformed into something that is inferior to his original state in terms of mode of existence, even if God should turn into a timeless, eternal universe, this universe would be ontologically less perfect compared to his primordial oneness. Meaning, it's a deterministic, not all occurring at once universe would be less perfect and less potential than basically a deterministic universe. So, due to that nature, it's more likely that God is number one. If the former is X, but that's where things get a little shaky though, because yeah, however God's most perfect wisdom forbids an inferior existence. So God's not going to go into an inferior existence, obviously. It's God. If X is given, then at some point the temporary limited universe either returns to the exact original state of God, which has gained nothing and lost nothing in the process, or ends in absolute nothingness. However, God does not do anything superfluous or pointless. Therefore, the following applies: God's entire being underwent transformation into a determinate sum total forces, and the world as a whole universe has one end, non-being, which will achieve the continual accumulation of some forces which compose it. Basically, God decided to divide itself out of existence, and it's the only possible explanation for a theological reality. So, Fair enough. That's true. I mean, there's multiple versions of determinism, yeah, but there's one you just said there, Diva King. I'll pop that on the screen. But then this is just like theological determinism, which is like everything that God creates inherently is determined by the nature of God's wisdom. So the universe is deterministic under theological perspectives, whether people like to admit it or not. So yeah. However, God does not do anything, but therefore does blah, blah, blah. The third deduction. God could not immediately erase himself from existence. The immediate eraser of his own existence, an existence which in a certain way identifies with his omnipotence, presupposes his omnipotence. In other words, his omnipotence would theoretically wipe out everything created without delay except itself, because its immediate annihilation would require or necessitate complete existence at the same time, concurrently. Therefore, God had no choice but to become a slowly but steadily disintegrating and waning world that, once gone, leaves absolutely nothing behind in the truest sense of the word. The fourth deduction. God enjoys being the most pleasant and blissful being. Thus, the following is true. If the eternal be conceived as complete and perfect bliss, happily ecstatic and ecstatically happy, there is no reason in logic or life why we should ever be moved to engage in creation. This is very important. The fourth deduction. God enjoys being the most perfect and blissful being. Thus, the following is true. If the eternal be conceived as in complete and perfect bliss, happily static and statically happy, there is no reason in logic or in life why we should ever be moved to engage in anything in creation. Because he's the only thing that exists. So why would he create anything? God enjoys absolute freedom to remain in existence or not to be at all. If he should ever be engaged in creation, it would be for the reason to cease to be. There is creation, that is, a world as the sum of multitude of individuals. In addition to following applies, they have a common root. God cannot have chosen to remain in being or to merely alter his manner of being, else no world would have come into existence. Individuals of dead individuals, only God. There's only living individuals and a dead God. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, basically, once you get to that, it's pretty much the fourth reduction is just like a little clarification point. But I think that one's the most important. One of the more important things is in terms of a lot of theological debunking, you can use this point right here. It's just a Buddhistic thing of like, why would kind of debunking creationism, and God, and stuff like that. Just like if like it's all the stuff ahead of time, which makes sense too. But I really like this point right here in particular. It's my favorite. It's just that like if God is a perfect being, if he's truly at bliss, if he's truly happy, why create anything? Why do anything? Like why create some world to play house with if he's already happy and perfect? You know? Like to do that would imply he has like some type of need that needs fulfilling, right? Like so that's not a very perfect being. So a perfect being wouldn't have any reason to create a world unless it was to destroy itself. So therefore God doesn't exist. It's just the corpse. Yeah. True. An extremely flawed world at that. Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it is it's like, you know how there's that one philosopher that says there's like, this is the best possible world? In a way, that's kind of true because this is like the only possible world of like all the things that could have occurred being shattered apart and obliterated. Basically, like imagine like infinite levels of scenarios. It's just impossible to do this, but like imagine infinite suffering, and then we already know that like suffering has like stronger heights and longer durations than pleasure, and then infinite amounts of pleasures, and then just basically the hell and then heaven, and then just like combine them together and shatter it apart, and then combine together and shatter apart into possibilities, and then make it deterministic. That's our world, baby. You just get the singularity that is God shattered apart, pure evil and pure good, just thrown into a deterministic chaos. That's Earth, baby. That's Earth. It's just hell. It's just chaos. Fuck yeah. Gotta love it. Anyways, I'm gonna be right back. Gotta get some nicotine. I've left my vape and I'm like nicotine. But yeah, Philippe Mainlander, truly the perfect explanation for why the universe exists as it is. A singularity event shattering apart and pure chaos turning out in deterministic form, all evil and all good being balanced out in this horrific shit show. And everything willing to death and destruction, internal decay and entropy. And all living organisms becoming more complex to tear each other apart until they realize that their purpose is to die, destroy all things. God's will set in motion. I am truly an agent of the Lord. Just kidding. I'm just joking, guys. I'm just joking, guys. But if you all want to join my death cult, when I turn 30, I'm totally making one. It's inspired by me, Philippe Mainland. Marco, oh, you got such chicken bone arms, bro. Yeah, big boy, big boy. Thunk. Six, stop that. Sounds like a nice cult. Fuck yeah. Basically, we're just gonna be, you ever play Far Cry 5? We're basically just gonna be like that, but like Philippe Mainlander inspired. Just get access to the nuclear codes and go sicko mode on the planet. Da, 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 da. I'm just joking. To the U.S. government, that was just a joke. If I ever had access to nuclear launch codes, I would give them to the president of the United States like a responsible United States citizen. No, I wouldn't. Hmm. Don't even talk about it, bro. Judge is pretty. Nah, it's fair. Also, you should get a monitor if you play competitive games. It's worth it. Yeah, I have like a really shitty TV. It's just like ancient. But you know, someday I'll decide not to be Jewish and I'll get one. But at the moment, my ancestry is strong. No, I'm just joking. I'm not Jewish for the record. I'm just being an asshole. I'm not actually Jewish. But if I was. Oh, well. Okay, I'm gonna grab some supply stuff. There's a lot of dead boys over here. God, gee willy. My mic keeps on disconnecting. God damn it. God damn it. There we go. I gotta watch some nihilistic animes because it's the best. Take it easy. I will, my dude. Take care, my dude.